Hey y'all, so I had a quick thought that I wanted to share with you all, and that is I was actually having a discussion with a friend of mine. This has probably been a couple of years now. We talked about this, but he said that we were both talking about how, when you're kids, you just make friends so easily, and it's not as easy when you're adults. And he basically said that he approaches friendships nowadays because we live very far apart now. He's moved, but we've been friends a very long time. And we were just talking about how hard it is to make friends as adults. And he said that the way he does this now, when he meets people at work or whatnot, there are friends that he does particular activities with. And it's just sort of like acquaintances. And so, like, for example, if you have a hiking group, then that group is just for that. You don't get into shared beliefs around religion or politics or anything else, really. It's just around that hobby that you both love or all love. And so what's on my mind today is that when you're kids and you make friends, you don't get into a lot of the really deep points of belief and lifestyle that we are anchored in so much as adults, that we let define us, that we are so emotionally attached to. It's like all that hasn't even been established yet when you're children, And so you can just connect on very simple things, And there's a really cute video, if I can find it. I saw this a couple of days ago on Instagram, I believe. And so if I can find it, I'll share this with you all. But it was just a cute little skit between these two ladies that came together. They're grown, and they pretended like, they were just now meeting one another as friends the way that children do. And so one of them comes skipping up to the other one, and she's like, "I like your hair." And the other one's like, "Thanks." And she's like, "You want to be best friends?" And she's like, "Sure." And then they just start talking about how they tie their shoes and their favorite colors and things like that, and how cool it would be if adults could make friends in the same way. And I think a lot about that Bible verse that says, we must become as little children once again to enter into the kingdom of heaven, right? And I think that there's a lot of truth to that, and I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at that too, different perspectives. But what if nowadays, especially with social media, what if this has made all of us adults a little too comfortable with sharing too much of ourselves, just laying it all out? And it's almost like we know too much about one another. And I've always been, that goes against really my beliefs, because I've always believed that, it's good to be not just open and honest and transparent, but proactively so. But I'm not active on all these popular social media platforms. Oh, you can see how dirty my my window is up here. I've got to scrub the top of my car here. But so sorry about that. But yes, in a way, I can see how becoming aware of this, like going innocently onto social media and just sharing of yourself, and how that unintentionally triggers other people, and it can break apart friendships, and families break apart over politics and all kind of stuff. And I can see different angles on this, and one approach to resolve that could be, you distance yourself from people, right? But what if we looked at this as a mirror reflecting back to us the attachments that we have, that maybe we don't need to be so attached to certain things. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't care about important things, like just current events and things that really impact people in the world, like, war and things like that, it doesn't mean that we can't or we shouldn't care about that. But I'll share another thought on that right there that just came to mind. John Mayer has a song where he's singing, he's waiting on the world to change. We're just waiting on the world to change. And he says, it's not that we don't care, we just know that the fight ain't fair, And it's got great lyrics. If you've never heard it, it kind of explains why people sometimes can seem passive in a situation where other people are very fired up and passionate, and they can get very angry at the people who seem to be passive. Like, why don't you care about this issue right here, But it just gives you another perspective as to why people may seem passive in that song. And I'll drop the information on that song in the description. But anyway, long story short, I definitely think that we don't need to be totally, is it called apathetic? We don't need to just completely 100% decide on apathy, right? But I think that finding a good balance is really important. But yeah, what if we turned these kind of awarenesses these revelations that we have onto ourselves, and we say, what opportunity is here for me to self-reflect and grow? How can I grow from this awareness? And so for me, I have kind of gone in the direction of non-attachment, which saves you money. If you look at it that way, it saves you money. It brings you a lot of peace too, because when we're attached to all these external situations out here, then we're sort of like at the mercy of what happens in that external situation, and we have no control over that. And so you just have to think about what's within your control. And I'm thinking about Stephen Covey. I've mentioned his books before. He's got a lot of great points in his books, but there's one called The 7 Habits of Highly effective people or highly successful people. It's been many, many years since I've read that book. But he talks about the circle of concern, and how we put so many things inside of that circle, and we're reactive to it, and we're just emotionally jerked all over the place. But the truth is, these are things that we don't have any control over. And he relates what we should be concerned about to what we have control over. And so a lot of the things really should be falling outside of this circle, and that limits what we care so deeply about. We can still care about these things, but we don't have to be so deeply rooted in them that we're just letting them jerk our emotions all over the place, right? So yeah, in a way, it's like you can look at these things like social media and everybody just knowing everything about everyone else and getting all in their feelings and everything. We can look at that as a bad thing, but is it? Maybe it's just this has just created, the internet and all of these apps have just created another opportunity for us to self-reflect and to become more conscious, of ourselves and others. So that's pretty much it. That's just my thoughts, and I just had to share that with you all. So I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have any opinions on that. And thanks for listening. I'll see you again soon.